morning. We are happy to have Nate Johnson from Risk Managers Insurance joining us. This is going to be a pretty frequent segment here on Table Talk, talking a little bit about insurance throughout the coming weeks and months. Nate, appreciate you joining us. You've got a little radio experience over the last year or so with some snow college sports.
Yeah, I got kind of thrown into doing some of the football games with Gary Chittister on the road for snow college football, and it's been really, really fun. And if anyone gets a chance to get on the radio, don't not do it because you're scared, because it really does become a love for a lot of us that jump on the radio. So it's exciting to get on. For some reason, I still get a little nervous here and there, but I quite enjoy jumping on the radio. So I appreciate you having me here, Tanner. Thanks.
Yeah, nothing like having a mic in front of your face. So excited to be here with you today. Kind of a new segment we're going to be starting here at KMTI, talking about insurance. So let's just jump right on in. You're with Risk Managers Insurance. Who and what is Risk Managers for those that are familiar, maybe not familiar?
Yeah. So Risk Managers has been, an agency since the 80s. A lot of people did not know that we had two locations. We're actually located in Ephraim, and then we're located in Taylorsville, right off Redwood Road. I've been with the agency since 2011, so about 11 years now at this point. And, our mission, our goal as an agency has changed over the last few years. It's gone from really just selling insurance to more of educating clients and non-clients, because it makes our job easier if you know what you're buying, right? And it makes the understanding of claims a whole lot easier if you understand the process. And we've come to find over the last few years that the public really doesn't know what they're buying as much as they think they do, or at least they assume they do. And they put a lot of reliance on the agent to just get them what they need. And we don't always know what you need unless we ask the right questions. And so that's kind of what we're wanting to do here, is break down insurance. And it's kind of a boring topic, so we kind of want to keep it short. But we want people to understand what they're buying. Really, that's kind of what it comes down to.
No, absolutely. Where I'm a newer homeowner, I've only been in our home for a year. There were some questions we had that didn't get answered until a situation arose. So we're really happy to have you on talking about these kind of situations. So let's just jump right into it. How does home insurance work?
Yeah. So really, there's kind of 8 points within homeowners insurance, and I'm not going to cover all 8 today. We're going to focus mostly on the dwelling today. But you have your main point of the insurance policy is the dwelling itself, right? That's your coverage A. Then you get into your personal property, which is your beds, your couches, TVs, those types of things. And then your other structures is your fences, outbuildings, detached from the main home. Okay. Then you have a thing called loss of use, which is if you get put into a motel while your home's being fixed, and it pays for food and things like that to help you while you're misplaced from your home. Then there's a liability aspect and a medical, and then there are other optional coverages that we will briefly hit on, but there are optional coverages, from what the base package is, and then we get into claims. So really, to give you a basic idea of what, that kind of is the way it runs down, but we're going to focus on the dwelling today, the main structure itself, okay?
So let's jump into that. What's important about the dwelling of your home?
Yeah, so the things to remember on the dwelling of the home is the base package of this policy covers for fire, vandalism, lightning, wind, theft, okay? There are other things that you can add to the policy, but that's the basic of the policy, right? And it gets a little tricky, especially with water, on what's covered and what's not, and that's part of those optional coverages. But if like a pipe breaks inside the home, that can be covered, whereas water filling up the window well from a rainstorm is not going to be covered on the base package, okay? And the things that we talk about, I don't represent every insurance company, right? I represent a handful, but the base package policy written is pretty much the same. But if you have questions about your specific policy, call your agent, because they can get into the specifics. But really, the main things to worry about would be wind damage, fire damage, and then that lightning, okay? couple other things to look at, and this is where I guess we can get into the specifics. So let's say you have a fire, right? The policy is made to minus your deductible, right? There's a deductible that you pay whoever fixes the home. Okay, so let's say the home is valued to rebuild at $100,000. Okay, the insurance company, their base, the package that they do, they want to rebuild you back to that home. Okay, and so their policy stipulates that you need to have your coverage at about 80% to 100% for that replacement cost to stay in effect. Okay, and this is where things get a little dicey, and the misconception comes into play, right? And right now with the inflated building costs, homes may be underinsured, and this is where it presents a major problem. Okay, so let's say let's use basic numbers as a prime example. Let's say your home to rebuild it is $100,000. We're going to use really easy numbers. Okay, $100,000, but you only insure it for $50,000 because that's maybe what you bought it for back 10 years ago. Okay. The insurance company is going to look at that and say, okay, if we're only insuring half the building, you're taking on the other half of the risk, right? So let's say we have a small fire in the house, does $10,000 worth of damage. And using those same numbers, they're going to say, okay, since we have 50% coverage, it's a $10,000 claim. We are only going to pay $5,000 because you only insured half the building or half the value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so with the inflated costs that we're seeing now on homeowners, where our homes have inflated to rebuild even, 30 and 40% of what they were 2 years ago, a lot of our homes are underneath that 80%. And you really need to check with your agent to see if you need to increase the value of your home so you don't have misconceptions on what's being rebuilt.
Right.
Okay.
So terrific information, and we're happy to continue to have these discussions as well. Final question for you: what's the most important thing that folks need to understand when it comes to their homeowners insurance?
Yeah, so really the most important thing is in my opinion is understanding the difference between replacement cost and actual cash value, right? And that's kind of what we talked about is we want to replace your home. We don't want you to be in an actual cash value state, but we also need to have that value to replace it, right? And that's based off square footage, based off building materials, and they put it into an algorithm, and then it draws up what that amount should be, right? And we're not talking real estate, we're talking about rebuild. Okay, that's one thing. The other most important thing that we need to focus on is what are you using the home for, right? If I write you a homeowner's insurance policy, that tells me that you live in the home full time, right? But now we've changed the usage a lot. We have Airbnbs. We're nightly renting them if we don't live in it. We pick up second homes, rent it out to single families. If the insurance company doesn't know that, and then there's a claim, then there could be a gap in coverage. So it is very important that you tell your agent what you're using the home for, and if that changes at any time, to let them know that, because there are some stipulations. If you go on a trip for 3 months and the home's vacant for more than 60 days and a pipe breaks, odds are the insurance company may not cover it because they have an exclusion of 60-day vacancies for claims. And so you just need to let your agent know if there's a major change in the occupancy of the home.
Biggest thing I've taken away from this is details.
Absolutely.
Details. Super important.
Absolutely. We can't insure what we don't know.
Right.
And not disclosing information only hurts you in the event of a claim, not necessarily saving you money. I don't want to sell you a policy for $1 if it's not going to cover you for anything, right? If you're asking for the cheapest policy possible, you kind of get what you pay for in a sense. You can't have a champagne policy on a beer budget, if that makes sense. Just let your agent know what you're doing, what's in it. Are you doing a business out of it? Are you not? Do you run a daycare center? Not. They need to know these things, because in the event of a claim, you're really mad at everybody if it doesn't get paid because of a little discrepancy of the usage. And so that's probably the most important thing that I would state is let your agent know what is being done with the home specifically, and then they can help you out and find you the best policy that way.
Oh, terrific. Nate, any final thoughts from you before we send you on your way?
No, we're happy to educate. I say reach out. Anybody's more than welcome to reach out if they have questions. Please call your agent. You can find us at riskman1.com. That's the number one. We have a website. You can shoot us an email. We are going to put this on, some social media so we can get some insight on what you as the public want to hear us talk about. So throw it out there. If you want to hear about pet insurance or flood insurance or whatever, we're more than happy to address the topics. We just thought that homeowners hits the broadest range of people, the earliest, that and auto. And, that's really what we're here to do is educate. And we're here to help best we can.
Well, we appreciate that help and that education you've been given this morning. So appreciate you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tanner.
Again, that is Nate Johnson from over at Risk Managers Insurance in Ephraim. You can check them out at riskman1.com. And